Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Ace High Outdoors. I'm your host, Ben, licensed gunsmith via the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. So we're going to ask ChatGPT the top 10 guns that every Canadian should own. Stay with me, folks. We're going to go through the top 10 guns according to AI in Canada. If you want to buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Helps the channel. Make $3 for 30,000 views, so it'd be awesome if somebody bought a hoodie. So the first gun on our list is going to be the Ruger 1022. So the Ruger 1022, it's made by Ruger, of course. It's been made by Ruger since the 1960s or something like that. Uses a 10-round rotary magazine. Pretty interesting little gun. You used to be able to get 25-round Butler Creek mags for it, other stuff like that. You can still get adapters and things, but because of the Charger pistol, kind of screwed up a lot of stuff with it. 1022 Ruger, super customizable, many different options for things like the Archangel stocks, Monte Carlo style stocks, other stuff like that they have available for them. Lots of aftermarket support on them. Even things like custom barrels that people make that are, that you thread them for the 1022 itself. Perfect for hunting small game in Canada, rabbits, grouse, other things like that. That's why it is on this list, of course. Known for extreme reliability, accuracy, and that's why it's made it on this list here. Alright, now number 2 on our list is going to be the Tikka T3X. So why I've added the Tikka T3X, it's an entry-level hunting rifle that's kind of a mid-range, around $1,000. Very, very reliable, very accurate, hammer forged barrel. Yeah, it's just a nice gun overall. I know people who have it. It's one of those things where it's a buy once, cry once. Tikkas are a Finnish design. Of course, the Finns are known to make very, very good guns. Suitable for hunting deer, moose, elk, other large game in Canada. And it definitely should be one you consider to your arsenal. Leads us to number 3 on our list, the Savage Axis. Anyways, so the Savage Axis, made in Canada, which is pretty cool. So you get a gun that's made in Canada. A lot of history there. Since around 1960s or something like that. Not totally sure when the Axis itself came out, but I know the one that I have personally is probably late 2000s. Very accurate rifle, kind of an interesting barrel design, as well as the bolt is slightly different than most Mauser style bolt action rifles. I personally like mine a lot, of course. It's personal preference to what people choose, of course. Another one of those guns that's suitable for big game like moose, elk, deer, other things like that. Can get them in smaller calibers that would be more suitable for things like coyotes, predator protection, around the farm. Coming from Canada, I like to support other Canadian businesses and help people, keep the wages here in Canada, and that's why I suggest, you maybe consider buying a Savage right now, even if you maybe wouldn't. Also, they're going to be a little bit cheaper right now with things like the tariffs that are in place. I believe it's kind of made things a little bit cost prohibitive for some of the American stuff. Also have a fair amount of aftermarket stuff that you can have for both of those rifles. So there's different things like MDT chassis for both rifles, so there's lots of customizability for the Tikka as well as the Savage. So that's why they're number 2 and number 3 on our list. Number 4 on our list is going to be the Ruger Ranch American Rifle. So the Ruger Ranch features a gun that's either, I believe, in 223-556 or 7.62 by 39. So that allows you to run Stanag style magazines within the Ruger Ranch American. So you can use, say, ammunition for your SKS or one of your band rifles that was semi-automatic that you're now no longer able to legally shoot. You can buy one of these and then run some of that ammunition through it. Of course, another good gun that's good for pest control, predator protection, of course, deer and stuff like that, of course, with distance and shot placement being paramount. And then number 5 on our list is going to be the Turkish-made Octaz Alor. So the Octaz Alor I've personally found to have a nice weight to it, kind of an interesting action on it, more like a shotgun. In the previous video I said I had a free floating barrel. I actually mistakenly said that. It has a slip fit barrel, so it basically just slides in like a shotgun. It uses a nut on the end of like a welded lug that's on the barrel itself, just to keep itself in place, kind of deal. If you're interested in kind of what that looks like, True North Arms put out a video recently where it kind of compared the guts of the Octaz to the Backline Hunter. It's kind of an interesting video, you can check that out. So of course it is designed as a hunting rifle. It's only listed as being able to shoot .223. It was only ever designed as a hunting rifle for things like predator protection, livestock protection, of course hunting deer, other things like I said with the Ranch American rifle. Of course, with it being Turkish made, things like quality can kind of be hit or miss, but from what I've heard, they seem to run fairly well. Things like magazines, of course, between your LAR magazines and your cross mags may have some issues that have been noted. Tends to be kind of what the gun itself likes. Of course, that's with most guns. They kind of have their different tolerances that you have to work around. Just find what it likes. Same thing as ammo. So with the slip fit barrel on that, you're going to inherently have less accuracy with things like a scope if you decide to use a scoped option. Of course, it comes with iron sights, so I would honestly just use the iron sights the way it is. Pretty nice piece for anybody there. Which is why it's number 5 on our list. Then number 6 on our list is going to be the Remington 870. So the Remington 870 came out in the mid-50s. It's been a popular gun for a very long time. Remington, prior to going out of business, had some issues with quality. Of course, I believe those are starting to be worked through now with new production models. If you're going to look for one that's used, I would suggest getting a Wingmaster. That's a little bit older. Try to find one that's from the mid-80s and upwards, so you can still use stuff like steel shot, keeping in mind that a lot of those older shotguns don't have a removable choke, so whatever the choke says on the barrel is what you have to work with. Highly customizable, many different stock designs, foregrips, barrel options. DLASK makes a ton of different parts for these things. They carry quite a few different selection of parts, things like mag tube extensions, quarter barrels and other things like that. I don't know, about 10 years ago, for a while there was a very big craze into the shorty 870s, which leads to number 8 on our list, which is going to be the Rossi R92. I personally really like this little gun. Nice compact, good weight to it, available in multiple calibers, 44 Magnum, 45 Colt, 357 mag, 38 Special. All around great gun for somebody who's like a trapper, somebody who wants to, you know, connect to their Western roots, play cowboy for the day. You could use it even for things like bear hunting, deer hunting, decent magazine tube capacity, and there's quite a bit of ammunition selection for most of these lever action cartridges now, because a lot of the ammunition is being catered to non-restricted style guns that shoot that ammunition versus restricted variants that may have been offered a few years ago that were more popular to have things like different variants of handgun ammunition, where now the lever action ammunition tends to be more prevalent in the store. Of course, most people know, probably by this point, not really a big lever gun guy, which is why I don't have a lot on the list, which is kind of hilarious considering the majority of the guns that I have owned previously and sold have been antique handguns, which you would assume I would also like lever action guns if I liked revolvers, but I don't know, I'm just kind of a revolver guy. Pisses me off that I can't friggin... Anyways, let's not go down that rabbit hole, but... Be nice to just have a revolver. I think there should be separate laws where you just can have a revolver, because it's like a cool thing. They've had them for like 150 frickin' years. Let people have a revolver. Like, it's perfect for self-defense, for bears and stuff like that. Not exactly the thing that somebody's gonna use for something like a a mass casualty event, however, still very effective. I will also note, it is currently 3 in the morning. A lot of the times when I film these videos, it's late at night. It's a secondary thing that I'm doing. If you guys like what you're seeing here, definitely give me a hand. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you want to see in the upcoming year I make more videos of. Do you want to see more top 10 videos? Or do you want to see more hunting videos? Do you want to maybe see more stuff like kind of boat related? It's all up to you guys. So please leave a comment below so I can give you guys the best viewing experience that I can. Which is going to lead us on our list, which is of course the most prolific gun in all of Canada, the SKS. The one that I always come back to. Of course, was designed by Simonov in 1945, I believe, 1944. Was used briefly by the Russians in the Second World War, and was shortly thereafter made kind of obsolete by the AK. Of course, it saw some use in places like Vietnam in the first portion of the war primarily, but even by the end of the Vietnam War, it had also kind of became obsolete. So it kind of has a little bit of a interesting space in history where it is kind of a little bit of a fighting gun. It's kind of a little bit not of a fighting gun. Suitable for big game, up until, of course, within a certain range. There's videos of Russian guys using these on like big ass bears and stuff like that you can watch, which is pretty crazy. Made by numerous countries. The tooling was shared to the Chinese after the fact. Yugoslavian variants are also available. Many different stock configurations available. The kind of more tactical Bubba versions of like your Archangel. So like your Tapco stock, your Strike Force ATI style stocks. You have duckbill magazines. You have magwell adapters that numerous companies have offered throughout the years. And it's really a very customizable piece. Kind of customize it to your personal liking. Of course, even having stuff like Monte Carlo style stocks that you can upgrade so you have more of a length of pull, which is kind of the only thing that you may note if you're a taller fellow, is that it's kind of made for shorter people, or the way they lean into the gun is very, like they kind of hover over it. So it's just the way it was designed to be shot. Put a limb saver on there, something like that. Yeah, you'd be laughing. So that would be my suggestion to you guys. Still cheap ammo out there. Which leads us to number 9 on our list, which is going to be the Browning Mark IV hunting rifle. This rifle has evaded bans due to its deep-seated Canadian heritage within the hunting community. Since the 1960s, this gun has been popular from country with hunters, from BC hunters in a mule deer stand to whitetail hunters in a tree stand in Ontario. Across the country, it just works. It's made in Belgium and also Portugal, depending on where it's assembled. The Mark IV variant is more ergonomic and features a couple upgraded features opposed to the Mark III. Available in all the standard hunting calibers that you would assume: 308, 270, 30-06, etc. It's a bit more expensive than some of the other rifles that we mentioned on this list, with a starting price of around $2,000. However, it's a gun that you will buy once and it will last you generations to come, and also will hold its value. I've seen used variants of these guns selling from anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 on the used market, when I personally have worked in gun stores myself on the retail end of things. So you can expect for this gun to hold value for another 60 years to come. And again, with its deep-rooted heritage as a hunting rifle, it's going to be pretty difficult for somebody like a new liberal government to try and ban it in the future. So that's why it's number 9 on the list. Number 10 on our list is going to be the faithful Lee Enfield. The Lee Enfield was popularized in World War I, as it was used by many countries from Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, and many more. It features a 10-round box magazine in .303 British caliber. It is a very nice shooting rifle, offers fast follow-up shots, as can be seen with things like the Mad Minute. Was even used in the Second World War and up until the mid-50s because it was just such a great rifle that worked. Even in reserve forces and the Canadian Rangers, they used that up until about 4 or 5 years ago when it was replaced by the Tikka. So yeah, very, very cool rifle, lots of history, very budget entry. You can get them still for about $150. Interestingly enough, back in the day, the ammunition used to be as much as the gun was. It was like $80, $90 for a box of ammo, and a gun was about $120. So for a little while there, they're a bit of a tough sell, but recently the price of ammo for them has gone down, kind of more comparable to like a 270 or 30-06, which has made them more desirable in my opinion, again, as a hunting rifle. Of course, you want to check things like the rifling on it, the action, maybe have a gunsmith look at it if you're not comfortable with things like that before shooting it, because it is about 100 years old now, with the newest ones being made around the end of World War II. So that's my top 10 list for you guys. I appreciate you guys for sticking around if you've stuck around this long. My link for the merch will be in the comments section. Again, we're working with some sponsors for the January season. If you are a Canadian company and you're interested in working with me, about 90% of our audience is Canadian, the other 8% is American, and the other 2%, of course, is kind of spread between the rest of the globe. If you're a Canadian distributor and you'd like me to maybe test a product for you or be mentioned in one of these top 10 videos, hunting videos, etc., feel free to reach out. So thanks everyone. Subscribe, like, comment, and thanks for sticking around with me for the top 10 video. That was suggested by ChatGPT, and I legitimately asked ChatGPT what it thought. I had to massage a little bit because it kept trying to suggest band guns like the CX4 Storm or the PC Carbine and things like that, but unfortunately those have since been banned, so I had to kind of, limit it to what was actually available, massage a little bit. So there you go, guys. Thanks.